I studied art in college, and I really went to college thinking that it was really about knowledge for the sake of knowledge. And I ended up working at a place called Tandem Press, which is an international print house that brings in basically famous artists, and they make prints with them. So you might bring in a sculptor who makes one-off artworks, and they might be $10,000 or $100,000. But if you made a print with them, it would be something totally and wholly unique, and you could maybe make 20 or 30 of these things, and then more people can have it. So it's inherently a democratic medium, and for me that was really it kind of grabbed me, the medium. And then this idea of meeting these artists, and they're doing really what they wanted to do. They had I see it now, or I understand, as kind of intellectual autonomy. They thought about the things they wanted to think about during the day, and they made work about those things, and I thought, I want to do that. And so that's really why I became an artist. It was that freedom, but it was also kind of wanting to share something with other people. So for the work I do itself, typically what I'll do is there's a lot of kind of upfront work in terms of kind of planning out and logistics, raising money through selling artwork itself, and then I'll travel to a different place. Like this summer I was in Rocky Mountain National Park, where we're starting a new project. I spent about 3 weeks hiking to the different glaciers in that particular park. We're in the process now of documenting those. That's the work I'm doing right now today. From there, it's like I come back with my field work, and in the field, essentially, I'll do my drawings, and I'll do sometimes little watercolors, take a lot of photographs, and then I bring all that material back to my studio here in Clemson, and kind of translate and transform that material, kind of into these woodcuts. And then the woodcuts themselves take about a month to develop, where I'll just be kind of carving and inking and printing and carving and slowly kind of build up these images. So usually these projects take about a year on the back end in terms of the actual artwork itself. Usually it's months of kind of hiking and things like that, and actually visiting the glaciers on the front end. So I wanted an organic language, an organic visual language, and that's what woodcuts is. It's a piece of wood, and I carve it, and I ink it up, and I print it. So it has a certain visual texture to it. At the same time, as I make these prints, what I'm doing is I'm carving the wood, and I'm inking up and printing, and I'm doing that over and over. What happens is the wood blocks that I'm inking and printing off of, they slowly start shrinking. And so by the time I get done making these artworks, the blocks themselves are really exhausted, and there's no way of going back and remaking the artwork. And so that way the process is mirroring the fate of the glaciers themselves. Paper I use in particular is made in Japan by individuals, small paper mills. And so the actual prints are actual art objects, right? So there might be 10 or 15 of these in the world, and that's it. But the nice thing about having 10 or 15 of essentially the same thing is it allows 10 or 15 folks to all have something. So reductive woodcut prints are fairly simple, and the key to understanding is that first word, reductive. And essentially what I do is I take a flat piece of plywood, I'll do my drawing on it, okay, and I'll carve a little bit out of the actual block, and then I'll take a roller and I'll actually ink it up, and then I'll print onto paper. And I might do that 10 or 15 or 20 times. So I have 20 sheets of paper that all kind of look the same. Once I'm done doing that, I'll take that same block of wood and clean it off, carve it out a little bit more, ink it up in a new color this time, and print on top of what I printed before. And so what happens is I slowly layer the ink onto the actual paper itself, and slowly the whole image emerges. At the same time as the image is being built up on the paper, the wood block itself is disappearing slowly, because the more I carve out, the less surface I actually have to roll and actually print off of. And that's essentially what a reductive woodcut is. So by the time you're done with the process, the block's been reduced to very, very little. And so you can never go back in time and make more of these. One of the joys of, I think, working with woodcuts, right, is that it's immediate, it's fast, and you can't fix it necessarily, right? And there's this flying by the seat of your pants, right, that comes with woodcut. And there's really no place to hide. So when you make mistakes, they're there. And I enjoy that. There's something kind of fun about that. Also, the layering of the ink is a bit tricky, right? Because I have to think about, I have to print lighter colors before darker colors. right? And so there's a complexity in terms of what the value of my color is, the opacity of my ink, right? So that I can make a whole image kind of look right, at least in my mind, how it looks right. Usually I'll be working and carving and printing and inking up these blocks for about a month. And over the course of that month, I'll usually have somewhere around 12 to 13 or 14 colors ultimately in the end. So that gives you an idea of kind of the different layers and how much carving is involved. So I'll take my image and I'll kind of plan it out in my head and get it onto these wood blocks, and then it's a lot of kind of writing things down. It's a lot of problem solving, right? And then it's just you start progressing and see what happens as you go. But that's the fun of it. And so.